On today's Winning Cures Everything, it's Week 1 Picks Part 2, and I got a little more information this time. We're going to go over some massive games. Of course, West Virginia, Penn State, North Carolina, South Carolina, LSU, Florida State, etc. So let's get into it.
Can you believe it? It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years.
Are you kidding me?
You're listening to Winning Cures Everything.
Game day, baby. Wake up or get out.
Here's your host,
A confident young man, a superb athlete.
Gary Seegers.
All right, welcome in. Winning Cures Everything. It's Thursday, August 31st, the Week 1 College Football Picks and Prediction Show, Part 2. If you didn't see the first 10 games I covered, you can go on and head back over to YouTube or whatever. If you're listening to the podcast, we certainly appreciate you for doing that. But go ahead and watch those as well. Check out the Three Dog Thursday show from earlier today. Have a pretty good amount of people that have watched that one. TJ Reeves and myself, we have a good time picking college football underdogs. But on this, I'm going through. I'm going to tell you about each one of these games as we go through. I got 10 more games today. First, let me tell you, if you want to support me, go over to buymeacoffee.com/winningcures. You can check out all these spreadsheets that I'm going to put on this thing today. You can find them all over there in the posts section. And if you want to know every bet that I make, you can follow me on Telegram, t.me/GaryWCE. That's the easiest way to do it. There is a link in the description for both of those. Still suspended by Twitter, but you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm at GaryWCE, the very basic, simple stuff. The BetUS College Football Show, Parts 1 and 2. Went out on Tuesday and Wednesday. Of course, we were live over there. Make sure that you are subscribed to that channel. A lot of good information from, not to toot my own horn, but myself, along with Parker Fleming and Kyle Hunter. These are guys that know what they're talking about. Absolutely know what they're talking about. So here's what we got. Three Dog Thursday, of course, on Thursdays. BetUS College Football Show on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And, of course, right here at Winning Cures Everything, we're doing stuff basically the whole week. So make sure you are subscribed here. Like the video, and let's not waste a bunch more time. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We're going to start off. Let me go on and get my screens right here. But we're going to start off with game number 1. That would be Colorado State hosting Washington State. And I got to tell you, the line movement on this has surprised me a little bit. Right? This thing opened at, 14.5 and has been bet down. There's a lot of love for Colorado State and Coach Jay Norvell's second year. That defense really did some good things last season. And, of course, returning production-wise, they're number 40 in the country. They got some good things going in their direction. However, there's still a pretty big talent differential. And based on my numbers, I've still got Washington State, even on the road, favored by over 2 touchdowns here. Ben Arbuckle, the new Washington State offensive coordinator, he's fun. I mean, he came from Western Kentucky. He's young, like only 27 years old. I'm wondering if Cam Ward can take the next step, right? He had his former coach at Incarnate Word, Eric Morris, as his offensive coordinator last year. Morris, of course, got the North Texas job. In comes Ben Arbuckle. Did some outstanding things with Austin Reed last year after taking over for Zach Kittley. Washington State, is this a bit of a look-ahead spot? I mean, they got Wisconsin coming in next week. I'm not totally certain, but there's a lot of disrespect being put out there. Yeah, obviously, it's game number 1 for both of these. They're both going to put in a lot of effort. But look, Washington State 5-1 against the spread as a favorite last year, 2-0 against the spread as a road favorite. Colorado State was 2-1 against the spread as a home dog last year. So trends kind of going in both directions here. I am going to take Washington State, the favorite, -11. I think this line has come down too much. I mean, I even liked it when it was 14.5 because, at that point I was only over by a point. But, yeah, Washington State -11. Yeah, that's the way that I'm going to go on that one. So cheers to Jake Dickert and company. We'll see if they have a big year in what is the last season of the Pac-12 as we currently know it. Moving along, Texas State heads to Baylor. Baylor is a 27.5-point favorite. This one's Saturday, 6 p.m. on ESPN+. You got new Baylor defensive coordinator Matt Powledge, who comes in. I mean, look, Dave Aranda was not happy with the way things went on defense last season. So he let go of Ron Roberts, somebody that, I mean, he worked for a long time down in Louisiana. So I'm curious. Like, Powledge, of course, was at Oregon. But before that, he was at Baylor. So how much difference is there going to be, right? He was at Baylor 2020, 2021. He knows Aranda's style. He knows what Aranda wants in a defense. Yeah, I'm curious. Let's go on and pull up the numbers on the screen here. Texas State's new coach, G.J. Kinney, he has traveled around. The guy knows his stuff. He was the offensive coordinator at Hawaii in 2020. He was the co-OC in 2021 at UCF. He was the head coach at Incarnate Word last year. And now, of course, he's at Texas State. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time for this offense to get clicking, right? And the fact that they like to play fast, or at least Kenny does, they like to play really fast. So I think that Baylor could put up a bunch of points here, right? Blake Shapen looking to have a rebound year off of what was not a good first year as a starter. So I'm curious on that part. Texas State 2-4 against the spread on the road last year. Baylor 10-3 against the spread the last 2 years at home. Baylor is also 4-0 against the spread as a home favorite of 3+ touchdowns in the last 4 in that situation. So something to pay attention to. Is this a bit of a look-ahead spot for Baylor? Potentially. They got Utah on deck next week. Do they get a nice lead and there's a potential for a backdoor cover here? Maybe. But this line is 27.5. Or at least that's the best number if you're going to bet Baylor, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take Baylor minus 27.5. I think they could win by 4 touchdowns easily. And maybe more than that. They could run this score up because there's a massive talent differential here. So, yeah, go ahead. Give me Dave Aranda to show out in week 1 against another school in the state of Texas. I like what they're doing here. All right, next on the board, West Virginia travels to Penn State, to Happy Valley for the first time in like 30 years. We talked about this a little bit on Three Dog Thursday today. This one's Saturday, 6:30 p.m. on NBC. It's the first NBC Big Ten night game, and I think that stadium's going to be rocking. Absolutely going to be rocking. You might be able to find a 21 out there. I know South Point's got 21. That's if you want to go with the underdog, right? So, but most of the places, Penn State favored by 20.5. That line has just kind of sat there for a while, and I think I get it. I think I fully get it. So, Penn State 6-2-1 against the spread in their last 9 as a 10+ point favorite. West Virginia 2-3 against the spread as a road dog last season. West Virginia has only been a 10+ point underdog once since 2019. They get a lot of love from bookmakers. A lot of love. Look, I'm excited to see what Drew Aller does, or Drew Aller. I believe that's the way that you pronounce it. I think he corrected a lot of us. But I'm curious because I think that Neil Brown's bunch is going to fight for him. They tend to show up in these spots, right? They played last year at Pitt. 7.5 point underdogs. They were in that game the whole way, 38-31 loss, but they covered as 7.5 point dogs for me. Now you're a 20.5 point dog. I do think Penn State is significantly better than them. I don't know that I like their quarterback a whole lot, but, I mean, we know the strength of the team is the running game and the offensive line for West Virginia. Do they have enough dudes to hold up against Penn State's defensive line and their linebacking crew? That's what we're going to have to try and find out. I could see this one be, like, here's the thing. This game could end up being 34-17, and Penn State looks really good, but they don't cover, right? This could be 31-14 or whatever. I could absolutely see that number, and they don't get the cover. That makes sense. I think Penn State can still look good and not cover 20.5. So my number here is 20.4. Yeah, I guess that 0.1 right there, I guess give me West Virginia because I think they're feisty. I think they're going to come out. They're going to try and save their coach's job. That seems to make the most sense to me because Penn State, you don't want to get rid of everything that you got in your arsenal there. So I will take West Virginia to cover there. Next on the board, North Carolina and South Carolina. The Tar Heels are a 2.5-point favorite. This one, of course, in Charlotte. It's Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, God's time zone, on ABC. These two teams have only played 5 times in history, or at least modern history, since 2007. And South Carolina is 4-1 in this situation. So let's go on and bring up the numbers here. So, North Carolina 2-6-1 against the spread as a favorite last year. That's not good. South Carolina 3-0 straight up as a dog of less than a touchdown in the last 3 in that position. Shane Beamer loves these spots, and South Carolina tends to get up for these games against NC State, against North Carolina, against Clemson, etc. Like, they want to show that they are the Carolina team, right? I don't like Chip Lindsey as the hire at OC for North Carolina. Obviously, Drake May could make me look good as an offensive coordinator, so we will see what that looks like. I'm curious what his pacing is going to be like, because I think that took a lot of teams, or caught a lot of teams off guard last year. Tez Walker, no idea on it yet. Doesn't look like he's going to get to play in this game. The NCAA is not exactly moving swiftly here, so kind of an issue, obviously. This is a very interesting game. I like Clayton White, the defensive coordinator for South Carolina. However, I have no idea what this talent is going to look like. I mean, there's so many different things here. Juice Willis against this North Carolina defense, or excuse me, Juice Wells, not Willis. My number has North Carolina covering this spread. If they do that, I won't be surprised. But I tend to believe in South Carolina's line play more. I know that they don't even have a talent advantage here, but I tend to believe in them more than I do just Drake May and some dudes. I don't like Gene Chizik's defense. At the same time, I don't know what to think of Dowell Loggins as an OC. This one's going to be so weird. So if I think that this is probably just a coin flip game, I'm going to take the dog. I know that my number says otherwise, but I'm going to go with South Carolina plus 2.5 on this one. I think Beamer does it again. They walloped North Carolina a couple of years ago in that bowl game. I think they could do the same thing here, so we'll ride with South Carolina on this show. Moving along, and we're trying to make this quick. Toledo at Illinois. Illinois, a 9-point favorite. It's Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Central on the Big Ten Network. Here's the question. Does Illinois actually have a quarterback? Right? I think that's the question. Luke Altmaier, the transfer from Ole Miss, he's going to be their starter. We'll see. On the other side, let's go through the trends here, and I'll go on and pull it up on the screen so you guys can pause it if you want to look at this and all that good stuff. But Toledo 1-7 against the spread in their last 10 as a dog of a touchdown or more. Jason Candle has not been great in that role. Illinois 5-2-1 against the spread as a home favorite of a touchdown or more. Yeah, that's a trend that tends to point towards the Big Ten team here. The talent differential, not that big. However, when you look at what Illinois does on offense, obviously you're going to have 5 offensive linemen. But Illinois' 5 offensive linemen average 313 pounds. Toledo, they run a 3-man front, and their defensive linemen average 295 pounds. You're giving up a lot of weight. I think Illinois might be able to do to Toledo what they did against Wyoming in week 0 last year. This looks like a mismatch, even though the talent would say otherwise. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious about it. So my number on it has Illinois by more than 2 touchdowns. This one has gone back down through 10. I'll buy back the other direction. I'm going to take Illinois to cover the 9 here. Jason Candle has not been great in this role. Now, obviously, they had a big game against Notre Dame a couple of years ago, but okay. Like, I'm not I'm not super excited. So it is what it is. Let's see. Moving right along. We're moving to another Saturday night game. Texas Tech. They're a 14-point favorite at Wyoming. Saturday, 6:30 p.m. on CBS. Tyler Shuck is 8-0 as a starter at Texas Tech. Now, obviously, he's had some health issues, but this is game number 1. He's healthy. Now, they travel to Laramie. Craig Bowl versus Zach Kitley, I think, is going to be a fun matchup. I mean, this is a pace battle for the ages here. This is going to be a good one. Let's go on and pull up the numbers so you can see what I'm looking at. Texas Tech was only 2-3 against the spread on the road last season, but they are 3-0 against the spread in their last 3 as a 10-plus point favorite, so that's something to pay attention to. Wyoming, on the other side, 7-2 against the spread their last 9 as a double-digit home dog. So, Craig Bowl knows what he's doing. However, they typically are not playing teams that are this talented, right? And Texas Tech, certainly more talented than I think Illinois was last season. But at the same time, that's maybe disrespecting Illinois a little bit. But Wyoming went to Illinois and just got shell-shocked. They got destroyed in that game. I think it was 38-6. Look, I know everybody's talking about it being windy in Laramie and all this good stuff, right? The travel to elevation, Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech still has a massive talent advantage here. I think Kitley's offense is going to maybe surprise what Wyoming wants to do on defense. I kind of like Texas Tech minus the 14 here. I mean, I'm giving up more than a touchdown here. I've got Texas Tech minus 21.7. I'm going to ride Texas Tech. You might be able to find some 13.5s if you hang around long enough. Best number I was able to get is Texas Tech minus 14. And, of course, this is Thursday afternoon, so you'll see. You'll see. Who knows? A lot of people might be buying on Texas Tech after this, but we'll find out. This could be a bit of a look-ahead spot, though, for Texas Tech, if you want to be honest. They got Oregon coming to Lubbock next week. I don't think it's going to matter necessarily. I think they can get up big in this one. Pacing, again, going to be a bit of an issue, but you got to cover 2 touchdowns. I think they can do that. Give me Texas Tech minus 14 on that. All right. South Alabama heads to New Orleans. They're going to take on Tulane Saturday, 7 p.m. on ESPNU, 7 p.m. Central, God's time zone. South Alabama quarterback Carter Bradley against Michael Pratt. I'm excited about that quarterback matchup. That's going to be a lot of fun. Pull it up on the screen here so you can see what we're looking at. And this number surprised me. Absolutely surprised me. So Tulane's favored by 6.5. And my number is way off. And I have gone back and forth on which way I would lean on this. Tulane is 8-3 against the spread as a home favorite the last 2 years. South Alabama last year, 2-0 as a dog in 2022. They were 4-2 against the spread on the road. Look, team talent actually favors South Alabama a little bit. So this number that I've got is before all the transfers and whatnot were tallied up. The team talent composite over at 247, that came out, and South Alabama was number 80, and Tulane was number 81. Now, the one that I've got is the overall 247 talent. It's the average star rating of the players on the team. So Tulane has done a better job. They've got less guys. So South Alabama has a full. You get the point. But either way, what ultimately led me to taking Tulane here is not just because my number is so much bigger here. I mean, you see it on the screen. I've got Tulane minus 12.7 in this one. Tulane defensive coordinator Shiel Wood. I hope I said that right. Shiel Wood. You guys correct it for me. Tell me, how do you pronounce the defensive coordinator's name? He was the DC at Troy last year. I'm sure some of you remember what Troy did to South Alabama, 10-6. They completely shut down that South Alabama offense. Now, do I think that they'll hold them to 6 points here? Probably not. The other side of this, if you're wanting to take South Alabama, you might could talk yourself into the fact that this is a look-ahead spot for Tulane because they're hosting Ole Miss next week in New Orleans. Game one, you're going to come out fired up. I'm going to take Tulane. I'm going to take Tulane to cover the 6.5. I don't feel great about it. I love both of these teams. South Alabama is my pick to win the Sun Belt this year, but tough road opener. Tough road opener on that one. All right, we got 3 more games to hit on here, so let's go on and do it. Northwestern travels to Rutgers on Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Central Time on CBS. Again, CBS trying to get as many of those Big Ten games in as they can. I don't know who really wants to watch this. I will be, but we'll see. Look, this is a weird one. Does Northwestern finally take the handcuffs off of the offensive coordinator here? I think that's probably the biggest question that you get. My number on it is, so my spreadsheet's a little wonky, but basically Rutgers favored by 1.2 points here. Rutgers is officially favored by 6.5. That line jumped up a ton. It opened at 4, jumped up to 6.5, and has sat there ever since Northwestern fired Pat Fitzgerald. Look, Northwestern has a better quarterback, Ben Bryant. They got a better running back in Cam Porter. I think they've got just overall better players, and I think David Braun might be able to bring in a little different kind of juice to this team than they've had in the last couple of years. Greg Schiano needs a win in the worst way, but we will see. We will see what happens with that. Rutgers 2-8 against the spread at home against the Big Ten in their last 10. Northwestern was 3-2 against the spread as a road dog last year. Look, another thing to look out for is I would think that, let's see, Kurt Soraka, that's his name. I couldn't find it. He was fired from his last 2 OC jobs. Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to be better than what they had with Sean Gleason. But, I mean, who knows at this point? Who absolutely knows? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Moving right along, we have got a monster matchup on Sunday night. LSU, Florida State. Yikes. This one's going to be huge. I am majorly looking forward to this one. And I'll tell you, LSU right now currently a 2.5-point favorite. We'll go on and pull up the numbers on the screen so you can see what I'm looking at. This one's in Orlando, again, Sunday, 6:30 p.m. on ABC Central Time, of course, God's time zone. Mason Smith suspended for LSU. Monster defensive tackle. That's going to be a huge deal. I think the Florida State lines are actually pretty good, especially the starters, right? And we're in game 1. We don't have to worry about health too much right now. But, you know, the Jalen Daniels, which one is? I've lost my mind. Daniels. We'll talk about Daniels, not the kid from Kansas, but the kid from LSU. His sack rate is just, his pressure to sack rate is not good. Florida State explosives. That's the other thing that I'm looking at here. You look on the screen, you can see the 2022 explosive margin. LSU, what the explosive margin tells us is Florida State really good at creating explosive plays and stopping explosive plays. They were number 11 in the country. LSU, they were not great at creating them, number 99, and really not great at stopping them, right? So that's something, and I think that Florida State has a lot of dudes that can create explosive plays, right? Trey Benson, you got the kid Keon Coleman that came in from Michigan State, you got Johnny Walker, you got other guys. And of course, Jordan Travis can move with his feet, right? Looking at the trends, LSU 2-5 against the spread away from home last year. Florida State, last 2 seasons under Mike Norvell, 7-4 against the spread as a dog. They were 2-1 last year. And so they may not get to be in this position very many more times. I think this thing's going to be 50-50 for the most part, or at least that's what the tickets were supposed to be. I think you're going to see a lot of Seminole fans in Orlando for this one. I know my number says LSU by like 5. I'm going to go with Florida State here. I think this is a big spot for Mike Norvell and company. Give me the Noles. Give me the Noles plus 2.5. I think they win the game outright. They did it last year, and I understand that was week 1 of the Brian Kelly era. I get it. But I do like Florida State in this spot. And so, next one up, last one that we're going to cover today. And that would be Clemson, headed to Durham, North Carolina, Wallace Wade Stadium, taking on Duke. Talked about this one on the BetUS show. Clemson, a 13-point favorite right now. It's a Monday, Labor Day night, 7 p.m. ball game. Yeah, this is going to be fun on ESPN. Pull it up on your screen here. You can see what we're looking at. Look, I love Riley Leonard, but his protection is going to have problems with this one. Clemson overwhelms them as far as talent is concerned, especially at the line of scrimmage. That's where their biggest advantage is. Clemson will be able to just lay on them. So that is certainly a big step in the right direction there. And not to mention that, you got Cade Klubnik paired up with Garrett Riley. Riley, I think they're going to be able to avoid negative plays. They were not able to do that under Jeff Scott. And, well, no, Jeff Scott hadn't been there. Brandon Streeter, whoever else, right? They couldn't do anything the last 2 years. Tony Elliott was there the year before. They could not make it work with DJU. I think Cade Klubnik is different. Garrett Riley, the master of stealing yards. Just fantastic at it. Clemson, 7-2 against the spread in 2022 against the ACC. Duke was 5-1 against the spread at home, so you got some competing trends here. I mean, you see it on the screen. I got Clemson by over 17 points, almost 18 points. If I'm getting them at 13, it gets me through a key number of 14, key number of 17. Yeah, I trust it. I think Clemson could win this by 3 touchdowns. Clemson always comes out like gangbusters in week 1. They always do. They look fantastic. They dwarf their opponents. I think they're going to do the same thing here. So I fully expect Clemson to cover the 13 against Duke on Monday night. All right, with that said, it's time to get out of here. We kept it below 30 minutes again. Reminder, buymeacoffee.com/winningcures. You can go find, I'm going to have a lot of charts, a lot of stats, a lot of whatever posted over there. If you want to support it, you can do so right there. buymeacoffee.com/winningcures. You can also get every play that I make. I'll toss them all out. I might toss them all out at one time. Might toss them out throughout the week. But I will go in and tell you on my Telegram. You visit in your browser, t.me/GaryWCE. Probably better to do that on your mobile phone. I think you got to have an app for Telegram. I don't know how that damn thing works. But you can follow me on there. t.me/GaryWCE. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok. We'll see what Twitter ends up saying. Who knows? Don't forget to check out 3 Dog Thursday, and make sure you go check out the BetUS College Football Show from Tuesday and Wednesday. All right? I don't know if I'm going to do anything on Friday. I don't know yet. We'll find out. I may just be too worn out to do anything. But if I do something, I'm sure I'm probably going to recap Utah and Florida. Probably going to recap Nebraska, Minnesota, and may just give y'all my number for every single game on the board. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But either way, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and definitely make sure that you tune in on Sunday at some point, because we're going to do a recap of what happened on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before Labor Day. Now, I don't know when I'm going to recap LSU, Florida State, or Clemson, Duke, but we'll find a way to do it. I guarantee it. All right, with that said, let's get out of here. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless college football. And, of course, I hope all of your tickets cash this week. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter at GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me, Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.